President Biden unveiled his administration's plan to cancel billions of dollars in student loan debt.
2 days after President Biden unveiled his student loan relief plan, reaction among Americans is split, mostly along party lines.
President Biden is defending the federal student loan forgiveness program as it's on hold now pending a legal challenge.
No matter what he ends up deciding, Biden will be taking a major political risk, whether he decides to cancel large amounts of student debt, $10,000 worth of student debt, or no student debt at all.
And the big question is, when is this going to get resolved? When will people start seeing some relief? And at this point, that is very unclear.
We have new details regarding student loan debt forgiveness. New numbers from the White House show close to 26 million people have applied for debt relief and 16 million have been approved.
Student loans in the USA are a significant way many students fund themselves through college. However, because it is a loan, you will have to pay it back, and when you are paying it, you pay with interest. Sometimes the interest makes the loan so much that people pay it back for the rest of their lives. Just in 2020, it was recorded that just about 13% of the US population is in student loan debt. That is roughly 45 million US citizens. Many think this number is small and student loans are not a big deal. But did you know that just these 45 million US citizens racked up about $1.7 trillion? I bet you didn't know that. And with the rise in student loans, it is bound to go even higher. Federal student loan debt from graduate school accounts for 60.5% of all graduate school alumni as of 2022, and undergraduate debt from 54.2% of graduate school federal student loans are still owed by 60% master's degree holders, and undergraduate loans are still owed by 52.8%. With these alarming stats, when the Biden administration brought the student loan forgiveness as one of their schemes, many people already thought that removing huge chunks of money from their student loans would ease their lives. In this video, we will dissect the student loan scheme in the USA. We will explain how it affects people with student loans and those who have paid for the student loans. Will the Biden administration be able to pull it off, especially with the court order? Stay tuned. You might find out some things that'll help you reduce the stress of that huge student loan you are struggling with. Starting life after college is difficult on its own, but starting with a huge debt over your head makes it even more difficult. It will always be in your mind as you consider it part of your bills. Many people have lived with it. Some people were able to fully pay, and some never got the chance before they died. However, when the Biden administration came into office, they introduced a three-part strategy to assist middle class and working class with federal student loans to switch from emergency payments to regular ones as pandemic-related aid ends. The first strategy is the Biden-Harris administration repeatedly prolonged the repayment of student loan moratorium due to the economic difficulties brought on by the pandemic. As a result, since President Biden took office, no one with a federally held debt has been required to make any loan payments. The Biden-Harris administration will extend the pause one final time through December 31st, 2022, with payments resuming in January 2023, to ensure a smooth transition to repayment and avoid unneeded defaults. The second strategy is targeted debt reduction for families with low income and medium incomes. This means that the U.S. Department of Education will give Pell Grant recipients who have loans held by the Department of Education up to $20,000 in debt relief, and non-Pell Grant recipients up to $10,000 in debt relief to help those who will default once payments start or at risk of delinquencies. If a borrower has an individual income of less than $125,000 or a household income of less than $250,000, they are eligible for this relief. Also, through the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, borrowers who work for nonprofit organizations, the armed forces, or local, state, tribal, or federal governments may be qualified to have all their student debts forgiven. The third part of this strategy is that Joe Biden and his team want to improve student debt management for both present and future borrowers. The Biden-Harris administration is putting out a rule that would establish a new income-driven repayment plan, significantly lowering the future monthly payments for borrowers with lower or moderate incomes. This rule includes the following. Students pay back only 5% of their discretionary monthly income for their undergraduate loans. For borrowers with loan balances of $12,000 or less, there will be a pardon of their loans after 10 years of payment. No borrower's loan debt will increase as long as they make their monthly payments. This is true even if their income is low and they can only afford a small monthly payment. Many people view this new development in student loan forgiveness in many ways. Many feel that Joe Biden and his administration came up with the scheme because they wanted to boost the Democrats during the midterms. Some people don't care if it is for political purposes. They just feel it is much needed relief funding. Some people who have paid their student loans fully feel like they are being cheated out of their duties to pay what they borrowed. One of the many people who are very vocal about how they feel about this policy by Joe Biden and his administration is none other than a Republican, Senator Ted Cruz. Senator Ted Cruz is one of the most vocal opponents of President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness proposal. He and other Texas Republicans are allegedly looking into legal alternatives to prevent the policy from being implemented because they believe it violates the law. Biden's student loan forgiveness policy is being carried out using the Rule of the Heroes Act of 2003. However, Ted Cruz and some other GOP members stipulate that the policy Joe Biden wants to bring far outside the scope of the Heroes Act, and by doing so, is illegal. The legal action against Biden's policy is imminent. GOP lawyers from several states, including Arizona, Missouri, and Texas, as well as other states, gathered in private to plan how to oppose the program by bringing lawsuits. And as a result of their assembly, the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals issued an injunction temporarily blocking Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. A group of Republican-led states sued in a Missouri federal district court to prevent the implementation of Biden's student loan forgiveness scheme. The lawsuit asserts that debt cancellation scheme will financially harm the states and the related FFELP lenders and servicers, including MOHELA, a significant player in the student loan market. A federal district court judge has dismissed the lawsuit, but the Alliance of the States went to the 8th Circuit and asked for emergency stay. That delay was granted by the appeals court, which described it as an administrative hold. The 8th Circuit's decision is transient and only holds while the court evaluates the state's application for preliminary injunction. The case later went to the Supreme Court when the Brown County Taxpayers Association, a Wisconsin group made up of about 100 taxpaying citizens and business owners who support conservative economic policy, filed the emergency petition with the Supreme Court. In general, the group contends that by forgiving student loans, the U.S. Department of Education is going outside the bounds of its administrative jurisdiction. The applicants argue that although the Department of Education is given authority to oversee several loan programs, it is not permitted to unilaterally forgive loans. They assert that Congress has this authority. The implementation of the Biden administration's student debt relief plan was permitted to proceed after the Supreme Court declined to halt it. The 7th Circuit Court of Appeals assigned justice. Amy Coney Barrett was the judge who received the emergency application. She probably got the support of the other judges on the court. Within hours of the Supreme Court's decision, a federal district court in Missouri dismissed a widely anticipated challenge to the program brought by 6 GOP-led states. We should be aware that the online application for student loan forgiveness is still live and functioning, and borrowers can still apply to the ongoing legal dispute regarding the validity of the student loan forgiveness program implemented by Joe Biden's administration. As of the time of writing, the Education Department has not shut down the application portal. During the delay, the administration may still be able to collect applications. However, until and unless the stay is removed, the Education Department will be unable to implement any student loan forgiveness. It is impossible to predict how the judicial proceedings will proceed. Advocates for those who have taken out student loans voiced optimism that the program will continue, but the unpredictability of the situation has many worried. Many people have voiced their support for the new policy by Joe Biden, and the legal battle is damping their hopes of having the financial liberation that the forgiveness of student loans will bring them. It seems unjust to many who have already paid off their student loan debt and never took out loans in the first place that tax dollars would be used to help certain people with their debt loads when they did not receive any such assistance. And they make a valid point because there is no way that the new policy is benefiting them. And they will be embittered if the federal government is going to tax money to fund such a policy. According to the majority of respondents, which is 56%, in the Economist YouGov survey conducted last month, forgiving student loan debt unfairly disadvantages Americans who have already paid off their obligations. There are also many speculations that this new policy by Joe Biden's administration will affect the upcoming election. The Biden administration has been prevented from canceling any debt due to the current litigation brought by 6 Republican-led states. Still, they have not ceased urging borrowers to submit their online applications. Some people see this as a political strategy to make Republicans look bad to affect their popularity in the upcoming election. If we remember, when the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, was passed 10 years ago, the federal government last established a prominent internet presence. At that time, an online marketplace was mandated. In its early stages, the website regularly failed and was inoperable, angering users and embarrassing Democrats. While some were concerned that the online student loan application may experience the same problem, that has not yet happened. However, many are still of the opinion that it is a political move that is not going to materialize. Some do not believe in the scheme, while others are hoping for it because of the liberation it will bring. But the case is still pending, with the Democrats and Republicans trying to do what they think is best for the country. You can show in the comments what you also feel about this new policy by Joe Biden's administration. Will it help the citizens, or is it just a political scheme? That will be all for today's video. If you want more news about America's policy and how they affect citizens, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel.